All right, we're live. All right, so the three of us, we are social self-pres eights. We have slightly different typings. So we have Kim, we have Jackie, and we have myself, Daniel. My typing is social self-pres 8 wing 9, 6 wing 7, 3 wing 4. Kim, what is your type?
Hi, my name's Kim. My type is social self pres 8 wing 7, 6 wing 7, 3 wing 2.
Jackie.
I am social self pres 8 core 8 862 with a 179 overlay.
All right, so we are going to just kind of explore what the hell this means. And we are starting with Kim. But before we actually just dive into her type, we do kind of want to go over a little bit of the parts. What even is eight? Um, Maybe you guys want to explain that.
Well, what is 8? um, 8 I view as somebody that's not afraid to go for the jugular and say what it is. It's somebody that is not afraid to call out inconsistencies. It's somebody that is very. You walk into a room and you kind of feel them, right? You kind of feel like, oh, there's either this wall in front of them or there's this like big powerful energy when they enter a room. I'd say it's somebody that like that you feel. It's somebody that's intentionally or unintentionally a little bit aggressive, somebody that's a little bit assertive, somebody that
A little bit.
intentionally or not kind of makes themselves the center of the room, I guess is how I describe them.
That
Gusto is
makes
how
sense.
gusto, that's the word.
Oh yeah. How about Jackie? Do you have like your own interpretation of what is eight, just to kind of see if we align?
Well, I'm still I can see all that. I'm still trying to see where I'm that way because I still haven't had that kind of feedback. Maybe I've just ignored it when people have told me that. Um,
Hmm.
but but yeah, definitely I if I feel riled up enough, I'll tell it like it is and, rise up against, whoever I need to you know, a corporation, a person, whatever needs to be done in order to, correct a wrong or something like that. I'll do it.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I feel similar to you. I mean, I didn't necessarily see myself that way. However, I did know that I was like constantly kind of doing it. Like I knew that it was in the equation, right? But I didn't know that that was leading everything. So for me, what eight is like you are just constantly aware of where is power in the room, and anytime the power is like getting like out of your hands, you feel like, okay, well, I need to maintain, at least for me, but probably the nine wing, right? But I have to like maintain, like I have to hold it like this much, at least this much all the time. So for me, it's I just kind of explain it that way. I'm horrible at explaining it with the fucking actual definitions, but so yeah, that's just how it is for me. So now, I guess let's just now we can just dive into Kim's typing. So take it from here, Kim.
Oh God. I guess my question is like, what do you want to like? What precisely do you want to know about like how I got into the Enneagram, how I felt
Let's do
about?
that. Yes.
All right,
So how did you
so
get there?
well, started in high school. I remember what it was January of 10th grade, and we had to take this assessment. What I later found out was the Enneagram. I wasn't sure at the time, and I typed myself as a 4. That was also when I thought I was an INFP and MBTI. So yeah, right away it's completely inaccurate and saw myself totally upside down. But when I got more into MBTI and typology, I later learned that I was an ESTJ, like very cranked up ESTJ. And when I learned about Enneagrammer and started to look into getting typed by them and submitting a typing video with the collages, I threw everything out that I learned about the Enneagram and was like, okay, if I saw myself as a 4, whatever the opposite of 4 is, that's what I am. I view myself as withdrawn, so I have to be somewhat assertive. And I've had guesses thrown around. I've had 3 heard. I've heard 7. I've heard 6. I've heard 8. And I wasn't sure. I'm like, okay, like I'm going to go into it blind. Like, oh, if I'm an 8, I'm probably a 9 wing. Cause like, I'm not double assertive. No. And then I got my type back as 8 wing 7. And I'm like, what? Like, with 0 withdrawn in my fix and overlay, I'm like, I don't have 4 anywhere. I'm not withdrawn at all. And it took me a while to kind of process. Yeah, it took me a while to kind of process like why I was seeing withdrawn. And it wasn't the withdrawn I was seeing, it was the rejection. And so I thought of typing myself as a 4 back then is, oh, I'm putting a wall where my heart is, right? Like I have a wall around my heart and it's very hard to get to. I must be a 4, right? Like I'm withdrawing. When it's like, no, you're not withdrawing, you're rejecting. So it's like when you feel like you're hurt by somebody, and it's something I learned about in the EU podcast where I'm like, oh my God, I really do this. It's like the metaphorical self amputation, where it's kind of like you cut off a part of yourself that they liked about you in the sense of like, oh, that part of me never existed. That part of me never, like, oh, that meant to me, like you meant nothing to me. Reality, it meant a lot, or else you weren't amputated in the first place. But it's like I love the quote of like, it's hard for you to admit when the wound is there, because to admit the wound is there is to admit that there's a part of you that still exists. And it's the rejecting is denying yourself. Rejection in 8 is you're denying yourself the ability to feel that vulnerability. You're denying the vulnerability for yourself because it's hard to admit that, at least in my case, it's like it's hard for you to admit that you failed to protect the people that you care about. And like when people come in and out of my life, it feels like when they leave, it's like a part of me leaves with them, where it's kind of like, oh, and it's like throughout the years, it's like so many people have kind of left my life in a sense that you're almost left at the end with nothing of yourself, because people take those parts of you kind of with them. So,
do you think you could explain that a little bit more? I'm really curious. Like when you say that people take those parts of you with them, how do you mean that?
Kind of in the sense of like, it's harder for me to admit that like, oh, you never wanted me. You don't like me. You never want. Oh, you just did me. You didn't like that aspect of me. Oh, I can remove that. I can cut that out. I can act like it never existed. Like I can kind of reframe it, the 7 wing, reframing it in like this false positive type of way of like, oh, that part of me, like it was never really needed. Like oh, I never really needed that. Like, that's fine. Like, I'll be fine without that. Like, it's all good. Like, you can take that. Like, oh, I never needed it. That never mattered.
Interesting.
Deep down, it did though.
I'm curious because like it sounds like I'm more curious, like, are you trying to hurt that other person for maybe misidentifying you, or is it because you need to okay, I'm trying to narrow down my question. So like, are you trying to hurt that other person, or are you trying to maintain the impact that you had before that person pointed out the flaw, or not, or neither?
Definitely I think unconsciously the first, just because it's like, right, it goes back to a leverage thing of kind of, oh, I'm not going to let you think you have power over me in that situation. Like, I'm not, you have control over me in that spot. I'm not going to let you think you have the upper hand here. But in the second part, absolutely, in the sense of like, oh no, despite the fact that like, oh yeah, that part of me's gone from me, that's stuck on you now. You're always going to have that, and that's always going to haunt you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make sure it does haunt you of like, oh yeah, I left my mark. My work's done. My job's done.
Interesting.
Like it's a sense of it's like, I want to make sure you're a different person after you meet me.
So I'm going to ask for an example. You don't have to give an example, but do you have an example of this specific? It does sound quite personal, but I'm curious.
I guess like past relationships I've had, right? Like I've kind of been like I was that type of person that's like, I'm not going to jump head first because like I need to get a read on you first. Like I'm not the type of person that's going to initiate, like as bold as I am, like around you guys, right? Because you're my friends. Like I'm much more bold when I'm comfortable in a space. But when I'm first meeting, I kind of hang back and be like, all right, I really approach. Who can I really open up to? Who can I trust? Like that sort of, I need to get a gauge on who has power over here, who can move me, who can't move me, in what ways can you move me, who's going to try to get in my space, who's not going to try to force themselves in my space and things like that. But it's like relationships, it's like when I make a mark on you emotionally, it's like, yeah, I'm going to make sure that you view your life differently after you've met me than before you met me. And you're going to feel that absence in your life if you ever decide to remove yourself from inside the wall that I have. I'm going to make sure you know you're going to, you may be not inside the wall anymore, but I'm going to make you feel like there's a void there now of like, yeah, like when you get in the wall and I get hurt, it's like, all right, like you're dead to me. But that part of me is not dead. Like it's stuck with you.
Interesting. So it kind of feels like a double-edged sword in the sense that like anything that person does to maybe devalue you, you kind of make it I don't know how to say that, recoil back to them in a way. I don't know if I explained that well. I probably did.
Yeah, in the sense of like feeling the need to kind of, you throw that on me, I'm like, oh yeah, like you think, oh yeah, you think the part's shit, like, oh yeah, you think the shitty, like I'll show you shitty, like you think that shit, like come on. And then the escalation of like kind of viewing it as like, oh yeah, it's almost in the sense of kind of viewing it as a challenge in a way. And that's like another thing I look back and I've noticed about myself. It's like I've always been drawn to challenges. I've always been drawn, especially when you tell me like I can't do something. I love being told no. That's like, don't do that. It's like, that just makes me want to do it more. Like, why not? And if the answer you give me is told you not to, I'm like all right, we're giving this a try. Like being the type of person that needs to learn not to put your hand on the stove by pressing your hand on the stove for 30 seconds and then like getting a 3rd-degree burn on your hand. Like that's how I kind of have to, like, that's how difficult I've had to learn my lessons in life, is I do not learn the easy way. I have to learn a very, very hard way. Like do not do that. But yeah, like that's how you can kind of tell where I'm a bit of a 7-wing, because I'll kind of like be jumping over here, jumping over there. Like where can I kind of insert myself? Like it's much more scattered. And that's when I realized, like, especially when they broke down like the leverage point of like, I do the 8-7 thing of like, I don't have to be the center of the power in situations, or I don't have to, my leverage is much more dispersed. So it's wherever I can gain ground, I'll go. Where if I move over here and I'm like, I don't know, like that doesn't work. And then I'll move over here and I'm like, okay, I gain a little bit over here, but that's not good enough. And then I'm going to move over here. I'm like, okay, now I can start to build over here. Once I'm solid here, then I'm going to move over here. And like constantly being a scene figure in whatever field I kind of move in. I don't have to be the top of that center, but I do have to be heard. I have to be felt there, in a sense of like, you may not like what I have to say. You may disagree with what I have to say. I will make sure you hear me, and I will make sure you feel me. You're going to feel me walk into a room. And you're going to know I got it.
So now I'm gonna kind of jump into social self-pres for you. So social self-pres, as we know, it's basically, I mean, I kind of just narrow it down to social rules. It can be seen as like the social is in the way of self-pres. So there's like social things people have to do in order to be allowed to do self-pres. Um, so like for you, and sometimes it can be seen as like a one-ish energy where it's like there's rules that people have to follow and stuff like that. But for you, like how do you see that um, being like significant? Also because like supposedly our instincts actually come before the numbers in our type. So it's
Right.
like we use our Enneagram type to achieve our instincts, and our instincts are kind of like our actual needs. So how do you see yourself at the base, like being social self-pres?
That's something I kind of had to process. It feels, at least for me and mine, it feels very contradictory because you have the social core of like social hierarchy and caring where people stand in a social situation, coupled with a core 8-7 of it's one of the types to give the least shit about what you think of them in situations. It's like the unapologetically myself thing. And so trying to figure out of okay, I care about social standings in this situation, but maybe not necessarily how I come across in those social situations has been huge of kind of noticing. I notice the social hierarchies very well.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't care about them where it's like, okay, I notice that you're supposed to behave a certain way, but if it doesn't line up with how I want to behave in that moment, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll
Well,
tell
I'm
you how to.
curious, like, yeah. Well, that I'm really curious. Like, are you ending up wanting to do things that would like reflect as if you cared about the social hierarchies?
like deep down I want to, and it's like I see it in myself of like you're not lining up, but it's very hard of like, but do you really want to line up? Like you want to, but then you don't. Like it's more so it's like if I line up, it's because I choose to, not because somebody else tells me you have to do it. It's like I have to be the one to tell myself, okay, you have to get in line. If someone tells me get in line, I'm gonna double down and like not get in line at all. Like no.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm curious. I have to ask this. Do you ever see yourself pushing people up the social hierarchy?
Yes. Yeah, I do like like very much unintentionally. So like if someone tries to project like their standards onto me, I very much clock them in like 2 seconds and I'm like, oh nope, you're no, like no, like if someone's like, oh that's normal, I'm like, normal to who though? Like if you're the standard of normal, you need to go back to Webster Merriam, find a lawsuit because we need to reevaluate what the definition of normal is because it clearly isn't you. Like don't force that onto me. Like I will check them in 2 seconds. Like you're not. Nope. I'm
Yeah.
not because that's your mind. Or if I think that like somebody's not competent or like it's more so I call it out when you say you're acting one way and you're really doing another. Like that's when I kind of call out because if it's like you portraying yourself one way on a social hierarchy and you're doing that, like I'm not going to bother you because it's like, oh, you're living your truth. When you're not living your truth, it's like the 8-6 stem of like I need to call that out. And then
Hmm.
doubling down on the 7 wing of like there's no going inward, there's no withdrawing, there's just we're gonna start ourselves.
Yeah.
When I
Wow.
call you out, like I've been told it's like in like conflict situations that I've made people close to me feel like I back them into corners or I kind of suffocate
Hmm.
them or I kind of box you in a little bit of like, no, you're really fucked. Like I backed you in a corner, like good luck getting out of here.
Yeah.
Like good luck because I almost make it like inescapable in the sense of like you're not getting out of this with me. Like if I have something to confront you on, there is no way you're going to get out of this because I have backed you into a corner. And even if I lose the argument, I've won in the sense of like, oh, I've got you back in the corner. I've got you in the
But
corner.
That's very interesting because I mean, just to kind of touch on the calling out aspect of this whole thing. I mean, being double reactive on your stem, it's like the 8 is gonna call out, but then with the 6, it's like, well, let's pick sides. So it ends up like causing a big um, backing them into a corner, and it's like, well, now you can't switch
Mhm.
sides now, huh? Like now you gotta stay on one
Right.
side.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh no, for real. Like I don't get into much like as intense arguments as I used to as a kid. Like very much so. Like I'd call out my friends, I'd call out my family. Like I called out my grandfather on a family vacation. Like called out my
Mm,
parents on a vacation that we had. Like just like the thing is, it's like with the 8-6 stem, it's like unaware of not necessarily you may be saying all the right things, but not being aware of like, was that really the appropriate time to go jugular? Go for the jugular on a situation? Was everyone in the room really okay with hearing how you had to say what you had to say? Like even such certain situations where I've confronted people, it's been like everyone looked at me and I'm like, what? You're all thinking it. You're all
mm.
thinking it. Like you all think this. Why are none of you saying like why am I the dick here for saying it when you're all thinking it? And it's no, it's you're not wrong for what you said. You're wrong for number one, how you said it. Number two, the timing that you said it. Because
Yeah,
it's
that's
like it
really
doesn't
interesting to me because
care.
I've also kind of had that same problem. But what I've come to think, and tell me if this is also something that you've ended up thinking about it, but I think that a lot of people, they don't know what they think or feel, like in general. So it's like when you call those things out, they're kind of like, oh, well, I maybe it passed through my mind for a second, but they don't identify with that thought or that feeling. So it's like they think you're not
Right.
actually even looking at them. They think you're kind of dehumanizing their actual essence or something like that. Do you think that that lines up with what you see with
It's
people?
it's that, and it's also that I call things out maybe when people aren't ready to hear them. Where it's kind of like, shit, I wasn't ready for that to come out. I don't care whether or not it's ready for it to come out. It's coming out because you were being
Mm,
inconsistent. You something
mm,
wasn't adding up with you. I had to address it. That's my job. Like I feel like I'm responsible to address things that aren't lining up with what you're saying because it's like okay, you're saying this, but you're acting this way. You're telling somebody else a third thing. What the hell are you? Because if especially when I let you in the boundary, it's like if what I'm hearing, seeing, like with you isn't lining up with how I'm viewing you in the wall, I have to push you out because
mm.
you're not being authentic. Like you're not being yourself and I can't have somebody let somebody through the wall when you're not being you. So I have to constantly check like okay, is how you're acting lining up with how I know you.
So it feels like you're taking on the role of like a boundary checker, where it's like if you don't have boundary, that's actually bad for me. So now I
Mhm.
have to make you define your boundaries. Let's do it right now. Like that's kind of the
Right.
vibe
If
I'm
if
getting.
you don't have a boundary, I will make one. I will make one.
Yeah.
And I never realized how much I did that. Or it's like certain situations, I never realized how much of an instigator I was, for instance, until one of my friends was like, "You are such an instigator." like, if
Elaborate.
I tell you like put on the brakes, you're like, no. Or it's like, oh, do like 50 of this, like, oh yeah, why not 100? like, like
Hmm.
there's no sort of glass ceiling with me, I've noticed, where it's kind of like there's nothing in my brain that's like, you need to stop. Like you need to like hermit a little bit. No, you're just okay, like you're just dispersing. You're not even paying attention as to where you're dispersing to. You're just going like, okay.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I guess that's like the 8 wing 7 thing. Like you have the wing 7 twice next to each other in the front and everything. So
Yep. Where it's like my type of 8 is the most head looking type an 8 can be because it has a head wing. Its next fix is a head type that's also double head.
mm,
So it's like, and it's not
mm,
withdrawn at all either. So it's just 8
yeah.
6
Eight.
reacting and then double 7 trying to reframe everything positive and assertive on escapisms.
Wow, it's like
So you
8
are
with like
just
three
flying.
headwings.
You are flying.
Interesting.
You're flying, and there's nothing to really tell you, like, okay, you need to get grounded. Like, you need to, which is strange being triple reality, like 8, 6, and 3. Like, it's strange being triple reality, and I still feel like I am just, when I'm in a escalated hype man type of state, it is just like you're
Okay.
just starting to lift your foot off the starting line, and I am already gone.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my God. You're like the Flash. Okay. So
Yep, you
I'm
are.
gonna
Yep, you
hit
are
on
the
the 6 now for you. So okay, so like usually they say that the core 6 is actually more problematic than the core 8 sometimes because 6s like to pick sides. And so
6 is a
especially if they're
fire
like
starter, right?
6, 8, 3, then it's like okay, well they're picking a side and then they're throwing 8 energy on top of it. So that's why they can be more problematic up front. And they're also attachments, so it's like they're arguing back to you. So there's constantly like a fight. So but you have 8 wing 7, 6 wing 7. So it's like the 6 is second, but your 8 is also not double body. So there is some sort of like a lot of head energy in general. So I'm thinking maybe it's probably different than me and Jackie because we have 8 wing 9, which makes us double body and then double head second. So it's like there's still more body than there is head energy. So I'm curious, how are you seeing the 6 for yourself?
That's a good question. Just because I was watching the Andrew Tate class because he's one click off of me. He's 6 and 5, but everything else is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same. So watching that was extremely, extremely surreal because it was, oh my God, I do that. Oh my God, I sound like that. But it's like because I heard it's like 6s are normally more reactive in that way than 8s, with the exception being my type of 8. So that's why I
Yeah.
thought like that's why I thought I was a 6 for a while, just because I'm like, why am I so like cutthroat or so adamant of like calling out inconsistencies and like being such a fire starter, or like when I get going it is like like just firing off all cylinders, and it's like I definitely see the 6 in myself. I really do. I really do. like what really hit it for me was that I wasn't a core 6 was the Gary V class, how he said like, oh, you can be nice and dominating. It's like, no you can't. Like no you can't. Like the
So
6
he's doing
thing of
like
like,
he's
oh, you can be,
legitimately doing both directions.
yes, like 6 is you're going both ways, whereas 8's like, no, you're dominating, you gotta be great, like you gotta be assertive. Like there's like you gotta be assertive. There's no like you can't be nice with it. Why would you be nice with it?
So that sounds like we're kind of noticing here that when you have 8, 6, it's like you will do both ways eventually, but it's gonna be completely one at a time. I think, right?
Right. Right. It can't be both at the same time. It very much is. Especially the nicest comes later, where it's like, all right, let's just get the shit over with. Like, I'm the type of person, it's like, okay, like if you're bleeding out, I'm not gonna like nicely be like, okay, and then we're gonna remove the bandages. No, I'm ripping that right off. I will pour hydrogen peroxide on your wound. You will scream in pain for 10 seconds. I will bandage you up and you're done. It hurts, but it's
Okay.
quick and it's fast.
So show up or shut up, basically. So
Show up. That's what I said before this. Because you were said like you were like, oh, is this hype enough? I'm like, oh no, it's not, right? Because I'm like, oh, let's escalate the 8 7. Let's keep going. Let's escalate this further because there's nothing there's not the double body of okay, I still need to be a grounded presence. Like I need to be here in the body. It's the head, like the head wing of like, no, let's keep going. Like let's, and then that's where I said like, oh, they better show up or shut up.
You guys heard that, so if you have comments, leave them below. We will take care of you at the end.
No, shut up.
So, yeah, don't be shy of saying something. So
That's the 8 Wing 7 way. Show up or shut up.
all right. So since we are approaching the 30-minute mark, I just want to hit your 3 wing. I mean, not your 3 wing. What am I saying? Your 3 fix. Okay, so you have 3 wing 2, which is really interesting because that doubles up your rejection. Even though it is, the 2 is the rejection wing, it still adds an extra amount of rejection for you. But just in general, just start in general, like how do you see the 3 wing 2?
Like I've totally related to the description of 3 Wing 2 being like the life coach. And I
Hmm.
absolutely relate to that. It's like when you get past the 8-6 reactive, like we're gonna call things out being consistent. Like after I kind of like shake you till there's nothing left anymore, it's then I can kind of be like, okay, once you're broken down enough, it's like, okay, then I can help build you again. I could kind of help guide you in the right direction, or like, I guess I've always tried to help people get on a track in life, especially the people that I care about. When I kind of notice them at an impasse, where I try to provide some advice for them. Like I remember one instance being a counselor in training at a summer camp, and there was one activity after lunch which was climbing a rock wall, and all the kids were excited to do it except for one of them. And she came up to me and was like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, what's up? What's going on?" She's like, "Well, I don't want to do the rock wall." I'm like, "Well, why don't you want to do the rock wall?" And she's like, "Well, I'm afraid of heights." And I'm like, "Well, that's okay to be afraid." Like, and I'm like, "Hey, can you do something for me?" And she's like, "Yeah, what is it?" I'm like, "I want you to put on a harness, and I just want you to take a step. And if you take a step and you say, I can't do it anymore, that's perfectly okay. I will be equally as proud as you if you take a step and say you can't, than if you take a step and make it all the way to the top. I'm not asking you to go to the top. All I'm asking you to do is try. Give it. And if you can't, like, that's okay. But I'd rather you give it a try and say, like, okay, I tried it and I didn't like it, than for you not to at least attempt it and wonder what if." She's like, "Okay." She's like, "You gotta watch me the whole time." And I did. She made it up all the way to the top, and that made my heart swell so much. And at the end of the week, she's like, "Thank you so much for helping me get over my fear of heights." So I definitely see the 3 Wing 2 as like, oh, let me swoop in and like let me try to coach you, like let me try to like pick you up and encourage you, or like let me try to boost your image a little bit of like, okay, you really can do it. Like, don't get in your own way of like like if you feel like you can, like I'm here to tell you that you can.
Hmm.
Like I think the 3 Wing 2 is like, for me, it's like I have a really big heart. Secretly I do. Like I'm such a, like I feel like kind of like a polar bear at first, that it's like when you get past the kind of tough and at times cold exterior at first, there's somebody very, very warm and tender. There's a very tender heart in there, and like
Hmm.
a lot to love to give people. But then it's
Hmm.
3 also rejects the heart space, and then you have 2, which is like also rejection. So it's constantly rejecting things even though I don't want to.
Hmm. Interesting. I also wonder how much of that is the line to 2 because um 8 does have a line to 2, and it's usually more prominent in 8 wing 9, but you actually have a 2 wing on your 3, so I think maybe it probably does come from the 3 wing 2. I don't know.
Yeah, the thing with an 8, it's like you can't escape rejection, right? Because it has a line to 2 and 5, which are also rejection type. So it's like no matter where you're kind of where your line is, you're constantly rejecting something, whether it's you're rejecting and gaining leverage from a love standpoint with the 2, or say you're rejecting and withdrawing and retreating and psychoanalyzing everything from the like line to 5. It's like rejection city.
Yeah. Ah, makes sense. I always thought the line to 5 was pretty difficult to see, just because the energy itself is very withdrawn, so it's probably contrasting with the 8 a lot. Um, so if you have any withdrawn at all, it's your line to 5.
That's what I thought. I thought my 6 wing was a 5 wing at first, because I'm like, But what I was seeing was the line to 5 and not the fact that reality I'm not withdrawing at all. I saw the
Yeah.
line to 5 and was like, oh, I'm a 6.5, but it's like, no, you're not.
Hmm.
Because your 8-6 stem and your wings, both of your reactive have a assertive 7 wing, so you're not withdrawing at all. Sorry to tell you, girl, but
Yeah.
you're not going in at all.
Hmm. Interesting. Hmm. Well, all right. So let's kind of move things ahead. So now we're gonna get into talking about Jackie's Enneagram type. And so, first question. I mean, just like I asked with Kim. Um, so just in general, how are you seeing your A-Wing 9? Or is there anything you want to start with that maybe is very big to your how did you get into Enneagram actually? Let's start with that.
Well, when I was doing Myers-Briggs stuff, I stumbled upon Enneagram, as you do. Usually they kind of mix. It's a mixed crowd. And I thought I was a 4 as well. The 4-wing 5, actually, or that's what the test told me, right? So I delved into that. Some of it was kind of like, it kind of like, I think I was trying to make it make sense. You know what I mean? Or like force
Hmm.
it to make sense,
Yeah.
because I'm like, the test told me, so it must be that.
Mm.
But it wasn't really clicking very well. And then so after a while, I kind of put that on hold and was getting into objective personality, and then of course mixed crowd again, got into Enneagrammer, and so here I am, and got typed by
Hmm.
them. Yeah, 8 was never on my radar at all, and so I kind of like newly like looking into it and seeing where it shows up. Um, for me, I think, and Daniel, we've talked about this, like my 6-2 and like the social awareness that it gives me, it makes me care about it a lot, unfortunately. So
Hmm.
like, I don't want to say unfortunately, because it's good to care about it, but I do kind of like envy Kim's experience of like, I know about it, but I don't care because this is what I want to do here. Like, I wish I could do that more often because I really don't. Um, and so like I'll want to say something, but I'm so selective when I say something because I know that I'm going to have to deal with the reaction of it being maybe not socially acceptable, or people not quite understanding, or receiving what I have to say. Um, so, that's what I've noticed anyway, as far as the differences. But
Hmm. Interesting. So just kind of going into when you said that 8 was not on your radar. What was your first reaction when you when you got your type back? Like if we could see your face when you got your type back, what would we see?
very furrowed brows, huh? You know, um, but I think like, again, the powerhouse that 8 can be, um it sort of made sense because I did feel like when I was in social situations, my energy could get big if I was like really passionate about something, and I could see people kind of going, okay, okay, simmer down, and so I'd try to, I try to simmer down, but a lot of times once I do get revved up in a comfortable setting, I cannot back down. So if I'm comfortable, I'll let it go. But most often I'm trying to navigate my energy and keep it like with everybody else's.
And by the way, Kim, if you have any questions at all for Jackie, you just throw yourself in there. Okay,
No,
okay.
me throw
So
myself in things, never.
okay, okay. So you just said that you like if you do get revved up in a social interaction where you need to, you can't really turn it off. So when you're comfortable, you try to keep it calm, right? That's what you said?
When I'm more comfortable, I let it rev up and go. If it's
Okay.
just kind of a mixed company of people I know, people I don't know, or all strangers, something like that, I try to temper it and keep it the way I'm sensing everybody else's energy.
Okay. Hmm.
And I'm also less
So,
likely to speak my mind and stuff like that, unless I'm really comfortable.
so for you, it comes out, the eight comes out more when you're comfortable.
Yeah,
Okay,
or I feel more allowed to let it out.
interesting.
Mm.
That's
But I
really
do,
interesting to me because for me, it's the opposite. I mean, it can't, of course, it can come out when I'm comfortable, but like when I'm uncomfortable, I feel like I have to like try harder to fix the problem. Um, like if I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I'm wondering if that's because I'm a savior feeler. Maybe I'm just like bitching about feeling uncomfortable or something. But I don't know. I don't know. That'll be interesting to look into. But um, so, is there anything else you want to add about um, like how the 8-way-9 is like manifesting for you? Maybe like tying it to your OP type or something.
yeah, I don't have too much on like the specific parts. For some reason I tend to look at it as a whole for right now. I mean, I do see the social aspect. I can kind of tell a story about when I was several years ago when I was working at a wholesale club. I recognized that a new manager that had come in from another club, and for some reason she took it that she just didn't like me right from the get go. There was nothing I did. It was just something. She just picked me and said, "I don't like you." I don't know, but I was sensing that, and as I'm thinking about it, I'm almost wondering if maybe she was another eight, and we were just kind of both like, hey, I'm here, and you want to be here, and I don't want you to be here.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I'm kind of power struggle, and
That's super common.
yeah, and so when I ended up leaving that job, and when I was during my like 2 weeks, my last 2 weeks, I told this one girl who was a cashier, I said, hey, this manager, she likes you. You should try to use that while she's here, because who knows if she's going to transfer out again or something like that. Like try to become a head cashier while she's here, because she'll get you in. And so she took my advice, and she um, you know went to this manager and said, hey, I want to be head cashier. And she was one, and she was one for like many 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 years after. um, and
Hmm.
so I could pat myself on the back, like, oh well, I'm glad I could help. But yeah, just seeing that social sphere, and like, this woman's not going to listen to me, so I'm not going to suggest you. So you're going to need to assert yourself and say, hey, I want to be this head cashier. So um,
Hmm.
something that clicked with me when Kim was telling a story about coaching and helping out somebody who was scared.
Hmm. Interesting. I see a little bit of the social hierarchy thing shining through in there for you. Um, I'm curious which of the 1 through 4 from OPS did you type yourself?
I saw two,
Hmm.
because I don't specialize. I like friends, and I probably flex a little bit.
Interesting. Okay. Well, keep that in mind because, yeah, I've always thought like social aid, especially, probably is very aware of the social hierarchies, but probably not in the same way that like if you ask like a social 3 about social hierarchy, they'd probably see it differently. The 8 would probably talk about it more in terms of like where are limitations and who is taking power in order to make the most out of limitations or even take advantage of others and stuff like that. Like just being aware of who is doing that and how can you be more assertively in control of like knowing that you can see that. Whereas maybe somebody else may not even see that, not even take a like may not even be able to do anything about it because they cannot even be aware of it. Which may tie into where you may end up being in the 1 through 4. I'm just guessing. I don't know, but um, interesting. So let's jump into your six now. Your 6-wing 7. Now you're exactly like me on these first two numbers. Actually, everything up to here, you're exactly like me. We're twins up to this point.
Right.
and then it dies from there. But anyways, so so the 6.7 second is really interesting because, like I had mentioned with Kim, usually people that are core 6 with an 8 fix are louder, with the exception of Kim and Andrew Tate. Just only those two people. Like that's the only exception. And so
I will go 6.
yeah, so but for you and I with 8.9 core and then social self-pres at the front, um I'm just gonna, I don't know, just how do you think that for you, like when you go into 6.7 modes, what are like common situations where that occurs, and how does it look? And if you if you know how is it different from core 6?
Yeah, well, because I have a type twin that's an OP that's a 6. I'm definitely less reactive. I've noticed that right off the bat, um, and less likely to say, "Oh, hey, that's terrible," and just jump in. Um, yeah, I'm not too. The only thing I know about 6 necessarily is like I might get some paranoia happening.
Mm,
Um, that I'm on guard a bit when, and I assume that's the 6 kind of speaking his mind. And then like as far as picking sides, um, is there an example of that? Like, so I know that also 6 is like they like to find so like for me, I have my faith, so like I belong to my church, so like that's, I think, speaks to my 6 area, I guess, too, is how I view that. um but yeah,
hmm,
that's as far as I've got there.
interesting.
And like picking
How about
sides, like what would be a good example of that?
okay, so picking sides, that would be like if you're having an argument and let's say that somebody is arguing with you about um okay, I bet this probably fits. So like if somebody's arguing with you about your decision to go with your friend to on a trip somewhere, and then you just don't invite the person that's arguing to you about this, and they are upset that you did not even tell them. Maybe like if like that person would be a 6. It's like, oh well, now you're with your friend and you didn't even tell me anything, so you must be my enemy.
Mm.
You must be my enemy. We must have a problem. I just assumed that we had problems and now I'm fighting you. So that would be an example of it. And what they tend to do is something called splitting. And just like I am not very great at explaining things. Maybe this is much better explained a different way, but this is just how I understand it. They also do splitting where it's like they kind of break their personality into different sides that they may switch unexpectedly in a way that would hurt you. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I've had moments where, and I wondered where it came from, where a friend of mine that I'm getting kind of close to, and I hear about them hanging out with somebody that, even if I don't know the person, and or not that I don't know the person, so like say another person at church, right? So I'm friends with somebody, they hang out with somebody else from church. I kind of go, like, in my mind I go, but you're my friend. Why are you hanging out? But I know it's ridiculous, you know what I mean? But I do get a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
twinge of like, wait a minute, but you're my friend. Why are you hanging out with them? Um, are they better than
Hmm.
me? Are they, what's happening? And so,
Do
but
I
then
need to reject you to make you mine again?
yeah, yeah,
Oh
right.
wow.
So I do tell myself though, I'm like, no, wait a minute, Jackie. Okay, you hang out with other people that this person doesn't hang out with. It's okay. You're doing the same thing. I try to remind myself when that happens. It doesn't happen a whole lot, but it'll come up every now and then.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, and I do get the same feeling that you had about like because I'm also like basically the same thing as you in Enneagram up to this point. Um, I also like sometimes my friends will start to hang out with, and I don't have a lot of friends, and this is I guess this may also play into it, but I feel like it's kind of personal when they choose somebody that's um like I'll kind of size up the other person, like who the hell are you hanging out with? Like who is this person? Like why are they so like worth your time? Whereas I'm like you're totally ignoring me now. Like solo, but like I mean I also double decided like in the sense that I understand that obviously everybody's gonna have multiple friends. It's not like you're gonna just have one friend and just me, like why me of all people, right? But um
Well, and many years ago, I had a falling out with a friend. It was really bad. It was like the only time that's ever happened. And and a friend of mine who kind of knew her, like from school, wasn't really friends with her. Accepted her as a friend on Facebook. And of course, this was years ago, and Facebook was really personal. And I was like, "How dare you? You can't be friends with him. I've had a falling out with them. You can't be friends with that person. Where are your loyalties here?" So that was a
hmm.
that was a moment. She was
Oh,
good about it. She's like, okay,
wow.
I'll take her off my list. It's okay. But now I'm like, have her on your list. I don't care. But at the time, it was like really fresh and
Do
But
you have fights with your friends a lot? I'm really curious because since you're double reactive at the front, like do you like fucking fight your friends and shit? Like
no, actually, I try to keep things pretty peaceful. Like one time, there was somebody I we had like a mutual acquaintance or something with me and my best friend, and this mutual acquaintance started started to try to start something. She said, "Oh, I thought she said you said this," and it was a very like, you know, backwards way of thinking. So it kind of created some tension between me and my best friend because we were getting this mixed message from this third person, right? And and so I actually like went to my best friend. I was like, "Look, I think there's been a misunderstanding that we need to clear up here." And we did. It was pretty easy, but yeah, I don't like a lot of tension. And usually with my friends, it's usually like a good time. It's like we're laughing and vibing about similar things, or um poking fun at similar things, or just stuff like that. I don't usually like to cause any problems.
okay. Okay, I wonder if that's like your nine wing is helping you to sense like connecting back to the collective instead of being like totally hexad and just kind of fighting them. Um, yeah, like the because obviously the core eight is reactive, so like there is going to be a level of like being responsible for inserting reactive energy where there should be reactive energy and stuff like that. But yeah, I think maybe the nine wing is helping to smooth the way that it's um, like delivered and stuff. So,
Hmm.
hmm,
And
interesting.
I could also tell there was a story I wrote down. You guys have already read it, because I wrote all about it in Discord. But that story of me when my mother got my ears pierced when I was 4, is that a good 8
Mm.
story that I could share with the whoever watches?
Go
Whatever
ahead.
you
I
feel
think
like is
so.
a good eight story, go ahead.
Well, I don't really. I'm still so new at this. Um, So when I was 4, my mother asked me if I wanted to get my ears pierced. I said yes, of course. And then so she took me to the mall, and when I think I must have known it was going to hurt. Like either she prepared me, or I just realized, oh, hey, a needle in my ear is going to hurt. But I sat up on the counter or on the stool or whatever, and I just had it in my mind. No one told me to. No one. I didn't see this on a show. It was like my own decision that when I got my ears pierced, I wasn't going to show any pain. Like I was just going to remain stoic about it. 4 years old. What 4-year-old's doing this? I don't know. But so the guy pierced my ears and it hurt. Oh yeah. But I just sat there and I tried not to make any motion with my face, not move, not make a sound, nothing. And then he went and did the other ear. And I can remember, so there's the social sphere, right? I can see the look on my mother's face out of the corner of my eye. Like almost wondering, like, why is she not doing anything? like this is kind of weird that she's not reacting. Like, okay, I guess she's all right. But yeah, she was like concerned for a minute because I wasn't saying anything. But yeah, that was a weird, I in my head, I'm like, was I really like just didn't want to show any vulnerability, and I didn't want to, and I wanted to say, you might be causing me pain, but I'm not going to let you know. I don't know.
Interesting.
But it's a weird story that just, I don't know.
Right.
That
You kind
is
of revel in the
interesting.
pain a little bit.
It totally checks out. I mean, if just like in general, hiding your pain is extremely rejection. So that's definitely a good one for that. So let's also like touch on the three. No, not, you don't have three. You have two. This is where you and I deviate. So your heart center
Yep.
is 2-wing 1. So how do you first of all, how do you understand 2-wing 1? Because it is a very rare type and it's double hexad.
I'm not sure. I haven't researched into the wing 1 part of it, but the 2 I was thinking about, and I have a story for that too. So I was talking with somebody who's very close to me and has been very close to me for a long time. And I said, I really just I wish I could love everybody the way Christ does. And this person says, you do? Because they don't get that from me. They don't get that I want this connection and I want to, to serve and to, be that. I just, the 8 must trump that most often. And it just must be something internal that I'm thinking about, how I want to, connect with people. So.
Well, actually, if I may add here, just a thought. They say that the 8th-wing 9, especially because of the 9-wing, it's like they're asking from like power from God, like, can I be more 8? So I think in this case, maybe you're like, I want to have a stronger social influence on other people. Maybe through this connection with the 2-wing 1, you're using that and with the 9-wing, it's like maybe that's how you want to reach people. I'm just guessing.
Mm-hmm. Like what I've attached to or something, the way I see.
Like that's kind of your route to doing 8, like social 8.
Could be.
Just a guess. I don't know. I'm kind of seeing that connection there, but so more about your 2-wing 1. Like what maybe
see if I wrote anything down.
Because we do know that the 2 wants to like offer a like positive gifts, like love. They usually use the term love with 2. Anything on that?
I mean, I'm sure it comes out a lot in my parenting, and like it's really important to me that my daughter knows that I love her, more than just saying it, and then I don't know, like, so like I don't know, this is probably a mixture of all the 6 and everything with it, but like every once in a while at nighttime when I'm tired, of course, I'll get in this mode where I start thinking about all the kids in foster homes and all the elderly without people to visit them, and all, just like all these voiceless kind of people, and wanting to help them all, and I get overwhelmed, like, how can I help them all? And then I like reel it back and be like, okay, I need sleep is what I need, and I pray about it so that at least I've done something, but and try to bring it back into my own sphere of like, no, I need to worry about like my family, my church, my community, and I can't help all the world. It just, that's impossible. So those kinds of things. Usually it's triggered by like a tragedy that I read about, years ago or something. It'll come to my mind and I'll go, oh, those people. And then it escalates.
Interesting. Hmm. Hmm. Well, I am gonna mention about the one wing here. Just maybe you can end up like spotting something for it, but like apparently the two wing one, with the one wing they kind of refine their offering. So it's like here's the thing that I'm giving you, but wait, it's perfect. It's not just, it's very special and it's very perfect. I'm just guessing a little bit there too, actually. I mean, I did hear that, but like I'm not properly explaining it. I don't want to like say something that's false. But yeah, just one in general, it because it's frustration and adds a level of trying to move something to an ideal. So it's like you start with two, where it's like you're giving an offering, but let's make it ideal. Like this is perfect. Maybe like, do you see yourself with any sort of like that type of energy?
Only like, I mean, I don't know if this is applicable, but like this whole interview, like I'm trying to like cultivate something in my mind to give something profound so that somebody who's wondering if they're an 8 is going, yes, that's me, or something, or it's helping them understand eights more. So I don't know, like partly I want something I say to be, really great and perfect and um, helpful. Do we have chats? How come we can't see the chat?
We do have the chat. I don't know what you guys can see, but I see it right below us. Um,
Oh, yeah. Hey, guys.
yeah, so yeah, we were gonna we broke this interview into three parts. So we started like 30 minutes with Kim, 30 minutes with Jackie, and then now we're gonna do 30 minutes with me. And then after all of that, then we'll do 30 minutes answering questions if you guys have them. We may not need 30 minutes, but we'll see. It would be really fun if we did. And we will call you out. So if you say something wrong, we will call you out. Just so you know. All right. Um,
Show up or shut up.
show up or shut up. Okay. So Jackie, one last thing I have to ask you about is the social self-pres part. I didn't put that at the beginning for some stupid reason. So for like social self-pres, as you know, it's kind of social rules vibe. It's very one-ish. Do you see yourself like being the social self-pres in the room, like that type of shit?
I think so. I'm always measuring, if somebody said something that I think was like, ooh, I think that might have been kind of insulting to that person. Like I'm always, my ears are always perked for that kind of thing. And I certainly don't want to be the one that insults somebody. So I'm always checking what I'm going to say. Um, but yeah, and I know, I don't know if this is kind of merging with probably OP a little bit, but I feel like I keep track of other people's like stances on like especially like hot topic issues. I'm always keeping track of that because I don't want to offend them, and I want to know when somebody else might have offended them, and if there's going to be like a conflict happening because they said that thing in front of this one, or like somebody who's really into politics, and it's like we know, like people who know them know, don't bring up politics if you want things to go smoothly. And but Jane over here just brought up politics, so now it's on, now party's over, like what I mean. That just
Yeah,
I'm always aware and like um trying to navigate that kind of social sphere.
interesting. Yeah, that sounds very familiar. Just like being aware of like what is. I mean, they also relate social self-pres to like there's like a king that's setting the rules, and you have to follow. Like, if that king is in the room, then you have to follow those rules. And like, I guess maybe being like aware of like when is there somebody um asserting like social rules around you, and then like kind of dodging it if that person's not even in the room. Maybe we are um and I'm just kind of like theorizing here out loud, but like maybe we are kind of taking the role, especially as social aides, social self-pres aides. It's like we are kind of being that king in the room, like, oh, there's these social rules a little bit. Um, I've definitely seen that in myself. I've kind of seen that with Kim. Your name
I
on
can I
Discord
can
was
see that.
was Judge Kim, right? I mean, yeah, Judge Kim, right? Yeah, that fucking screams it. So
Yeah, I'm right in my court.
yeah, but I also see that with Jackie. I remember you told a story one time about um I mean, you had like a jury duty thing.
Yeah.
That story. Yeah. Do you want
Yeah.
to tell that really quick?
Yeah, let's see if I can condense it. So like, yeah, so I was called for jury duty, and I was selected, and so during the well, but before I was selected, the lawyers come in and they ask the jury select, questions to see where they're at, where, I don't know. I must have ignited like I knew that's what they were doing because I was already aware of how, court protocols, and so I'm like, they're trying to see who thinks what. Okay. And so I ended up like naysaying a couple of the things like that the lawyers were trying to explain to everybody. I was like, I think that's a generalization. I don't think that I don't know where it came from, but I was
Uh-oh,
like,
you EP'd though.
I was like the one talking, and so then I do get selected because I ended up naysaying both lawyers. So like I think, I don't know, it wasn't like one anyway. So I was selected, and then when the one lawyer was, doing his opening statement and stuff, finally, he said, he like reiterated what I was saying no about, and he reiterated it looking right at me as if to say like, this is how it is, by the way. And he's staring at me, and I remember I sat there and I just stared right back at. We have a staring contest, really, and I won because he had to look away because he was still,
Yeah.
talking. But yeah, I looked right at him. I'm like, dude, is this, we're on? Okay, this is
That's
what's happening.
intense.
All right.
Right.
So it was
Wow.
funny.
I
Yeah.
expect nothing less.
Like, if you're gonna call me out, you better name drop me. Better at me. I want the whole room to know you're looking at me, and I want the whole room to know I'm gonna be looking right back at you. Don't be subtle. Call me out.
Oh my god.
I know.
I
For
don't know
me,
why this is like okay, I'm gonna shut up. Let me not go there.
for me, I didn't. I'm okay with it being like a private thing, um, between me and this guy, and it's like I didn't need him to call me out necessarily because I knew. I was like, yeah, I know, or you're looking right at me because you want to like change my mind, but it's not going to happen. So
Hmm. Interesting.
I'm like that
I hope I
too in
explained that
private,
well. I
where
was
I'm like,
kind
if
of
you
full.
call, you did. I'm like that too privately, where like you call me out privately, like you don't have to name drop me. If you call me out in a group of people and you're trying to be passive aggressive, no, name drop me, please. I want the whole room to
Hmm.
know, because I want the whole room to know how I'm about to
Yeah.
smoke you in 5 seconds. Like, I want the group to know how you're gonna lose this. Like, call me
I
out
guess that's
publicly,
like
name drop me
also
publicly.
I think that's also like the 6 second part where it's like we're fully on one side or the other. Like if you want to be mean, just be totally fucking mean. Like just let everybody know. Um, so now I require somebody else to call me out because I can't interview myself. So both of you just fucking tag team me.
All right, this shouldn't be that hard. All right, Dan. All right, so Daniel, how did you Samara, call me out. You'll have your turn, don't worry. But Daniel, how did you get into Enneagrammer, and how did you feel / react to you being a core 8 wing 9?
All right. Okay. Let me shut off play. Let me turn on consume sleep. So, I got into the Enneagram after I was already in OPS for like 2 years or something, and I saw that people were talking about Enneagram, but I was not open to it. I was not open to Enneagram whatsoever. But I started researching it because I wanted to understand it a little better. And that led to me discovering Enneagrammer. And once I realized that they were like typing people, they were different than other Enneagram groups in the sense that they were being more objective about their approach to it. And it wasn't just some kind of like, you're just guessing, like, oh, this is, after 2 seconds of talking to this person, is clearly this is a 2. They were not doing that. So that's what really caught my interest. The fact that they were basically the OPS of Enneagram, that is what caught my interest. And then I started, obviously trying to consume it and absorb it. And I found it very hard. It was very difficult at first for me because um, it was different than OPS. It was not the same. It was different than OPS. It was a new language. It was a new set of, like, everything was like totally different than OPS. And it was difficult to absorb it. But I got pissed off because of that. I didn't want to continue trying to figure out my type, so I just threw down the $100 at the time, and they typed me. I didn't tell anybody. I only told one person that I was gonna get typed, and I didn't. I thought that they weren't going to just stick my typing in my posts, but they did. And so suddenly everybody knew my typing, and I didn't mean for that to happen. And then, yeah. So, and then I saw, like, oh, they actually typed me an 8-wing 9. I was expecting them to type me 9-wing 8. I was perfectly spot on with my guess. I put social self-pres 9-wing 8, 963. But they put 8-wing 9, and so I was like, oh shit. The moment that I saw it, I was immediately processing, like, wait. Wait, this is actually really bad. I think I know what this means already. As I was like, over the next couple of days, I was like connecting the way that this explains my group presence from the very beginning. When I first got into the group before I got typed, I was fighting everyone in the group. And I was spreading misinformation big fucking time. I was just acting like I knew what was right. I knew what the information is. It is based on my judgment of this information that determines what the information is. That is not true. That's absolutely not true. Oh my God. My cat is on my fucking counter. He's going to drop a bunch of things. 1 second.
Oh, that's cute. I was going to ask what type of cat.
This is a Persian cat.
Oh, that's so cute.
I'm going to do the least 8-ish thing. I'm going to show my cat.
Oh,
because why not? He's going to bite
even
me.
your cat looks like a Kyle. Like,
He's grumpy.
he's so grumpy.
And he's shaved too.
Oh, even your cat looks like a Kyle.
His name is Lion King. He's a lion, basically. Anyways, so where was I? Yeah, so Yes, I was fighting with a bunch of people about the definition of things and trying to be like the judge of what is correct and what is not,
Hmm.
which sounded like one. I had one person that was like, "Oh, that sounds like you're a one. I think you're a one." I'm like, "But do you see me? Am I a one? Like, do I look like a fucking one to you? Like, um,
I think I think on the surface they appear very similar in the gut center, like superficially, just because like the nine is kind
mhm.
of like the not necessarily conflict avoidant, but like conflict diffuser, whereas eight and one are kind of coming at you in a judgmental way, but it's very different as to what they're judging you on or how they're even judging you. Right? Like
Yes,
much different. Like I've noticed ones, it's like yes, they're harsh, but it's like it feels different. Like it's not like they're not coming for your throat.
yeah,
When it's pissed off, they're coming for your throat.
yeah. Like they're pushing you to the ground type of
Oh, yeah,
energy. Yeah.
yeah, you're
Whereas
getting
one, it's
pushed.
like I'm trying to get you to sit up the right way. That's totally different.
Right, sit up. Whereas we're like, you're gonna shove you to the ground, right? Like that,
Mhm.
right? So it's like you originally typed yourself nine wing eight. What are some of the differences you see now, knowing that you're eight wing nine versus nine wing eight?
Oh, the very first one is that the way I understand it, because now I have to always say that because I've called myself out when I realized I was A-Wing 9. The way I understand it is the difference is so this goes for any type. You use your wing to achieve your core type.
Hmm.
You always use your wing to achieve your core type. The nine wing eights are using assertive eight energy and using that to achieve nine. So like they're going to be more assertive about like, well, I want to do nothing, or I want to like follow this thing, or I want to be a nine, basically, assertively. Whereas with the eight, it's gonna use the what is that noise?
Oh, sorry, 1 second.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay. So whereas with the eight wing nine, it's using the nine wing to like um okay, so like it's tapping into the collective to be more eight. So it's like, well, I wanna have a position of power, and so
Hmm.
therefore I'm going to tap into the collective and see where is power needed, because that's probably going to be the place that's going to be the most receptive to me. So um, so that's my understanding of it. Although I mean, this happens with all the eights. This happened to Jack. It has happened with you, Kim. um we don't see ourselves as eights, like we do
No.
not like it's not like you just like you think of like what do I identify as, make a sentence, what does it say? It's not like it says eight. It's more like I feel like just to kind of give an analogy, it feels like okay, that's weird, but like it just kind of feels like this, like just like a force of power trying to like keep a sense of firm groundedness and like firm like just a lot of different senses. It may be self-respect, it may be power in the room, it may be like whatever the fuck it is. It's like I'm just like firmly keeping it in one spot in my brain. Like
Right.
there's this like one standard it needs to maintain right there all the time. That's how it feels for me. Um, Whereas like I don't necessarily think of that as I'm being an aide, like I'm like fucking being
Right.
an aide. Like I think of
Right.
it as I am just being a person
Mm.
by doing that, which is fascinating because like eight is a rejection type, and so it can kind of cut off parts of itself in order to maintain like the power that it wants, which is a lot of what I'm doing there with like trying to keep something in one place in myself. Um, a lot of it is like I am just completely going all into. Let me try to think of it in a certain way. Like Okay, this might fit. You tell me if this even sounds right, but um, so it's kind of like imagine that you're adamant about I'm just gonna stand on one leg. Like I'm going to live the rest of my life hopping on one leg. I am a one-legged human. And
Right,
so
because
I,
I
I
choose
so I
to.
do it. Yes. And so I do it. That is my plan. I am going to stand on one leg. You will find me standing on one leg. I will be walking out of my car on one leg. You will always see me that way.
Right,
And so it just kind of feels like that is what I kind of do. Like there's certain things that I have to do in my life that I'm just it's just not going to not happen. Like I'm always going to force myself to stand on one leg, but it's I mean that's just an example, but when I like give you like exactly what I mean, it's like I there's just certain I guess just more directly tying it to the social self-present need, there's certain things that
right,
have to happen in the social sphere, whether that be in my family or maybe that will be like literally in the room I'm in. There's certain things that have to happen and I have to do it. Like I have to force myself to achieve that role whether I can or not.
no, that makes
I just
sense.
have to. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Like I've been listening to you and Jackie, and I because you've kind of been in the any like Enneagram system a bit longer. What have you noticed? Like yeah, we're all eights, but like, what do you notice is the big difference between you and Jackie, who are core A wing nines, and me, who is a core A wing seven? This I'm curious to hear about.
Okay, so well, the biggest difference is from the actual typing. She has two wing one fix. I have a three wing four fix.
Hmm.
Um, that means that she has an extra layer of hexad, and it's double hexad. It's not just one. So she has an extra layer of that. And the in general, like two versus three. I mean, sometimes they say that two is actually more assertive than three in the
Hmm.
sense that it's because it's rejection, because it's like it's giving an offering, and it has to be this offering, like it's this one thing that can be. It has its own like it fits into the category of being assertive in a sense, although it's not an assertive type. But yeah, in
Right.
that sense, because it's rejection plus that, it's like it could be more assertive. However, the way in which three is assertive as it just is more like I think it fits more with like if there's a certain image that I'm trying to take on, it's going to um
No, I could see that. Like assertive in the fact that it's like rejecting the heart space.
yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if I'm explaining
Assertive.
that right, but
I think I get it. Like I'm
yeah.
still trying to process what being three last means. Like, which makes me, which is also something I kind of wanted to delve into because we're both Kyles, we're both 863, but the last wing is different. Whereas you're
Hmm.
like three wing four, which is assertive and then frustration. I'm three wing two, which
Hmm.
is like attachment and then rejection, where I kind of use rejection to get attachment, which is so weird, which is kind of ironic, where it's like using rejection for attachment. So like, how does a how do you see three wing four manifest
Hmm.
on top of having an 8-6 stem?
Yeah. Okay. This is the way I explain 34 in general because it has frustration. There is a sort of overdoing of the trying to make the image perfect.
Hmm.
Um, like it's too much weight. It's a lot to make an image perfect. That's why there's that frustration. That's just my way of saying it. But um, yeah, like if you'll see a lot of three wing four cores where like if they're like a celebrity, like often there's just this thing that they like cling on to with their story where it's like, all of you thought this was perfect, but there's actually another side to it
Right.
actually
Right.
very dark and very frustrated and doesn't have a solution. And that's what makes this something you do not know about. So that's what I see with three wing four. Whereas like three wing two, there's a lot more of the like this, like there's the success, and then there's like all the other happiness that maybe
Right.
you wish you had that only I can have. Like this is my, part of this whole equation. I'm. You tell me if you think there's more to it.
No, I've noticed that. I could see why the three wing four would be a bit more perfectionistic with it too. Whereas two kind of has the kind of leveraging the love element there, where it's kind of similar to what Jackie was saying with her two fakes of like, I just want to love everyone like Jesus loves everyone.
Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Interesting. Because I always thought of three wing two as, I mean, they call it like the life coach fix,
Yes.
where yeah, where it's like, well, I've been successful and you can have it too. And it's actually
Yes.
really, really, it's going to be amazing. I will
Yes, I
guide
know a
you through
couple.
it, but you just have to accept my offering with that
Mm.
rejection wing. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Like for you it's like except it's so fascinating. Like I found eight wing nine to be very fascinating because it feels like, and even you too, you talk more grounded. Like it's
Hmm.
powerful, but it's much more. It feels more centered when you talk. Like it feels like
Hmm.
you're not like chasing as you're talking. And I
So
don't
it's
know
like
if
it has to
it's
come
just how
to me.
yes, like it feels much more inward, whereas it's with me, it's like it has to come from
Yes.
out.
Double go getting for you.
Yeah, double double go getter.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, I feel like it just makes the social self present myself more annoying
Oh yeah.
because like
Oh yeah, I can
not only
imagine.
is it like the social self pres of like, oh well, there's gonna be a king in the room, and obviously because it's A9 core it's gonna be me. Not only that, but it's like, but now you have to adjust to my rules.
Right. Right, because it's double body.
And then with that nine wing, it's like, but that's where I feel like I don't make sense, and I feel like this is kind of like my blind spot where I cannot tell how fucking annoying this is, or how much maybe other people really resent me for this. It's like I can kind of take authority in a way that you just don't know where that's coming from. I guess
Right.
I don't know how else to say
Right.
it.
Right. I've heard where it's like eight wing nine is like much more sensitive to like disrespect and whatnot. Like it was I remember I watched the class on Habib. I can't pronounce his last name. I do not want to butcher it. But like comparing
It's a long
Habib
one.
to Conor McGregor, who's Conor's an 8'7", social sexual. And like
Yeah.
Conor is like, yes, he was kind of poking the bear a little bit, but you could tell that like Connor didn't care that he was being disrespected. Like he was having fun with it. Like, oh, this is a show, this is performance. Like, let me like I'm on stage now, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
gonna hype this fight up. Like I'm not here to like I don't care about the disrespect side. Like of course, like if it's certain people that disrespect us, then yeah, we absolutely fly off the handle. But it's like I feel like I'm much less sensitive to feeling disrespected. I'm just like, whatever. I don't care. Like especially if I'm not trying to gain
Interesting.
power in a situation, it's like I don't I didn't need you anyway. Like whatever. I'm just here to have
Hmm.
fun.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
Does
for me, it's like I think the reason, and maybe just processing this now, because this has always been a weird thing to me about the eight thing about disrespect. I think having the nine wing and then also being social self-pres kind of amplifies
Mhm.
that a little bit
Right.
too much because
Right.
now it's like the disrespect is on a social level, and what other straight up example of somebody feeling disrespected than it being socially. Um, but with the nine wing, it's like I'm tapping into the collective on, um, you know, we all have to adapt a little bit to make room for whatever comes up to the top.
Hmm.
Um, but like because of I'm losing my point. Jesus, I fucking lost my point.
It's okay. We'll bring it back. You were mentioning that like 8 wing 9, you kind of feel like amplifies the social self pres a bit more, just because it's paying
Yeah,
attention to. Look,
I
I can
forgot
see
the
that.
why. I just forgot the why. I don't have
I
it.
think because there's this attachment to the power there. There's an attachment to I need to be at the center, or I need to, or there's attachment to the social hierarchy. Where I feel like me being an 8/7, it's kind of having that fight of okay, being a social 8, it's I care or I see it and I care, but being an 8/7, it's like I don't give a shit how I come across in that. Like it's
Mhm,
the fight between like I see it, but I don't care. Whereas 8 wing 9, it
mhm.
feels like I see it, I care, and I need to kind of shove on where the center of that is.
There's
I have a
definitely something there.
I could be
Yep.
wrong. Like,
I have a story, and
I
I
feel
was
like
wondering how Kim would react in this situation. It might be hard to put yourself in that situation, but so like
okay,
I have a special needs sister, and
okay,
I had taken her to the dentist, and this dentist is specifically for special needs people,
okay.
and they advertise it that way and everything like that. So we go to the dentist, and the hygienist and the dentist, I feel, were disrespecting my sister, and were like very impatient with her and kind of just treating her really just not the way. And I like, having seen all through my life the way, paraprofessionals treat my sister, I know what's good and what's not good, and and where things can be improved and stuff like that. So I was just like, while I was there with her at the appointment, I didn't say anything then, and I don't know exactly. I think I'm trying to gather up all the information. I'm trying to gather up, like, am I seeing this right? How could, what points can I make when I challenge this, and that sort of thing. So we get to the appointment, we get done, we go home, and I decide that I'm riled up enough that I'm going to call the dental office and complain and tell them about it. So I did, and they said that they would talk to the management and correct that. But like, with Wing 7, do you feel like you'd probably address it in the moment and not later?
Probably, probably. I was in a situation where I almost fought, like, especially verbally, but almost physically fought like people. So I was with somebody at the time, and they had a service dog, and we were in line for breakfast, and there was these group of 3 or 4 teenagers like talking shit about him in front of me about the dog, and they're like, oh well, the dog's probably not even a real service dog and stuff like that. And he could see me with the clenched fist on my right side of being like, I'm about to. And I'm like, I was so close to saying like, hey, excuse me, just so you know, that's to help my boyfriend alert him when he has seizures, so you can kindly shut the fuck up and be very, very much aware that that is a real dog and he really does need it. So you can shut your judgmental, like, I was that close to just snapping. But he didn't want
And
to.
why didn't you?
He was the only reason I didn't right off there pop in, because he didn't want to. He's just like, I don't want attention drawn to me. And I'm like, I'm
Oh,
only holding back because of you, because I care about you and I don't want you to feel embarrassed or whatever you feel like. That is the only reason I kept my mouth shut. But when we passed them, when we got in line, I gave them a death stare. I stared them down, like walking by. I'm just like, you say, like, gave a look of, you say one bad word about him again, over. Over. Do not
mm,
insult the people I care about. Done.
Well, and I think that was part of why I didn't say anything at the time too. I didn't want to upset my sister, number one, because she already gets nervous over any kind of medical appointment, so I probably, maybe that was part of the reason why I didn't say anything, because I didn't want to upset her. She's already upset. Um, and yeah, so I was kind of looking out for who I was with too. Yeah.
Like, if he hadn't told me like don't go off, I would have gone off. That simple. I'm like, okay, you say the word and I'll go off.
Mhm.
You say the word, I won't. because you're behind the wall now. I trust you. Like if you want me to say something, I will because I'm this close. Like you see my right fist ball up. Like I'm that close. Like that's just like in this most cases. Like yes, I'm not so sensitive to disrespect. But if you disrespect the people that I do care about, like that 8-6 is just itching, like and that double 7 either is like, all right, like you say one, you breathe one more bad breath, it's over. Not even you say one bad word, you breathe the wrong way. Good night. Like, don't go after my family. That's it.
Have you ever gone off out of call?
What do you mean?
Like he didn't tell you to go off, but you went off anyways, and you fought that fucking person.
There hasn't been that many situations like that, but I think there have been times where I have been a bit over assertive.
Mm,
It's been like, how do I reel that in? I'm like, simple, you don't. You in that
yeah.
mood? Get out of my way.
Mm,
I can't. I don't like when people disrespect you. That's game over for me.
interesting. Well, for me, it's very hard for me as well. In terms of like being disrespected. Um, but it gets to the point where like I end up like exploding about whatever the problem is,
Right.
and like you may not expect it. You may not expect it. I think maybe part of that's being feminine DE and OPS. Like I can be a little nicer, and I usually will. Um, Not like to the point where like you can't tell that I'm like solid. You can tell I'm solid. It's just like I just don't need to make a problem right now.
Right.
But as soon as I do need to make a problem, I will like totally just fucking go off.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
In a very
Oh
forceful
yeah.
way. It can be kind of like a volcano. Like it's like an explosion in a volcano type of shit. Like
Right. No, in class too, like in high school, like I remember this class was annoying me like all week. And then it just finally got to a point where people kept talking over each other and I just yelled, shut up. And the whole room went quiet. And they're like, I
wow.
remember someone said, oh, can you calm down? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I've had to hear your big fucking mouth all week. You're giving me 10 seconds if I heard you for 5 days. Like, shut up. Like,
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah.
And they're like, calm down. I'm like, you're telling me to calm down? I've heard your yapper
Mm.
40 hours. You're hearing me 10 seconds. Shut up. Like, sit down.
Oh my god.
Sit down and shut up. Like, don't tell me what to do. I'm in 8 mode. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Well, the time is ticking, so I want to hit on my 6 and my 3 really quick before we touch on the Q&As. You
Right,
guys,
right.
you've been asking so many questions, so we are gonna have a section of that. Um, Kim, I do know you have to go at
Yeah.
3, so let me be fast on this part.
And my battery's
So
dying.
okay,
It's been
all
plugged
right.
in, but still down at 20%.
Oh wow. Okay, okay. So for the 6, basically, I mean, I very easily can just say that I relate a lot to how both of you were explaining the like it's kind of like it's not that I'm trying to pick sides all the fucking time. It's just that if it comes to it, I will. Like I absolutely will pick a fucking side. And I will double down on okay, well I haven't picked a side in 30 years. Like now it's like super this is a really big fucking problem. And you're not getting like a little confrontation. This is like a huge like you're going to something's gonna be permanent in some way, shape, or form right now. And there's no question about that. And so that's absolutely something that like the 6 is very I think is also very visible in general with me because 6 6 wing 7 double head it's like thinking about like the consequences of everything and following and kind of thinking with another person as well. They explain 6.7 kind of being like a person with two heads, like they're both talking to each other, right? So I do have a lot of that energy in general, but I think that because it's secondary, it is delayed. Like the processing speed of that is delayed. My and I think this is where Kim is superior because of that seven wing that she has on the eight. So you have like an
There's
advantage,
like
even
three
though
heads of
you
talking.
are 6 foot. Yeah, it's like you have three heads at the top, basically. So it's like, yeah, you do have that advantage there. Um, but yeah, definitely, especially for me, I feel like my head speed is even slower than Jackie's. I've noticed, and I wonder if that's just the
Mm.
demon thinking for me. I'm not sure on that, but um, I tend to do it in waves. Like I can actually speed it up, but it's like for a burst for me. It feels like a burst. Like I'll just
Mm.
suddenly just ask a whole bunch of questions or connect a whole bunch of things at once. Um, but it's not mm, like consistent. I'm not always in that energy. I'm not always amped up. I'm a lot of the time I'm actually pretty chill. I'm just trying to like I'm always like watching around me. This the social eight thing, like who has the power around me, like who is, and I can like sense, if this person is, willing to try to test me or not. I can sense that, and so like if the person's not a threat, I just kind of ignore them, just reject them. But if they are a threat, I try to like maintain my ground, that sort of thing. Um, Now to jump into the three fix quickly. And I was talking about this with you guys about three wing four versus three wing two. Um, I I feel like the three comes out in a tidal wave, and so there's this concept of the heart space. When you have heart last, especially, you can have like a tidal wave of emotion where you just start crying, and it's like you finally actually connect the dots on how everything has been making you feel up to this point. And it like feels very raw and all that. So that happens a lot, like a lot. I feel like I experienced the three last tidal wave about twice a week. I want to say twice a week, sometimes
Mm.
once a week. I will just suddenly feel very emotional, and it is very weird. And it's like, what is
Mm.
this? It feels
Mm.
like like you obviously you cry and it comes out of your eyes. It feels like it's coming, like I'm crying from my chest, like this water
Mm.
coming out of here.
Right.
It's like, oh, this is strange. Like I feel so emotional right now, and I'll just like suddenly reach out to somebody and like pour all of that into them. And it may also be, I mean, I'm curious if like I'm experiencing like a tidal wave of my line to two, maybe, or maybe they're happening at the same time, or one activates, maybe three is activating the line to two, because I do end up like shoving it into
Mm.
somebody, and like making them feel like I care about them, like I see them, I completely see them. I have been seeing you this whole time, even though I haven't, but I have been seeing you this whole time, and I want you to feel like that has always been something I can give you, like that kind
Mm.
of thing. So I'm making myself emotional. Okay, that's weird. So
I have a follow-up question to that actually. Like you feel yourself getting emotional twice a week. Is that another thing you can notice between three wing four and three wing two? Just because I don't know if the two wing might cause the rejection of the no, I'm not gonna feel that right now.
well, they say that with the twos, they are offering an emotional state that is not authentic to what they're actually
Hmm.
feeling. It always has to match this thing they're giving, but that's not how they're feeling. It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Interesting. There it is. Yeah. Whereas like with the four, it's like it's frustration. So it's um like I'm just frustrated with, at least for me, it's like I feel like I have such a grasp and understanding of my own emotions. And maybe this is, savior consume sleep, PS, but at the same time, things are just never going to work. Like it's never going to be good enough. It doesn't matter how well you understand yourself. It does not matter, how hard you try to give off the right impression or the right image. It's always going to break eventually, and it's always not going to be enough. And I have to be okay with that. But it's hard to get to that point unless I like feel hurt by just the existence of that truth. I don't know. That's the vibe of it. That's how it feels.
I can see that.
Tell you the gossip. Somebody said that. Okay, so we're going to transition now very, very, very quickly. We're going to call you up very fucking fast in a very real way. So let's do that. First question, I will put this up here, by the way. So I do want this to be known, by the way. She did say this.
Amen. Oh.
Amen.
Oh, another grumpy.
All right, so.
I wish I was home so I could share my cat too.
All right, first call out. This is none of your business, so take it home. All right. All right. Just to reiterate, our typings are in the description. Were you really?
I wouldn't blame you. We're pretty fun to talk about.
Okay, so probably.
Yeah.
You want to elaborate a little bit?
Well, I mean, if the 2 is opposite and really probably tempers my 8, I'm thinking that's, and I'm constantly, I do feel a pull constantly of just that. I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. It's like I get it in my head, but I can't explain it quite yet. So it's still all kind of new. But,
yeah.
I just feel like it has to.
Probably.
Probably because it like I said, they're opposites, so they must
buffer in some way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a request from Tamara. She wants to be called out by Kim.
Oh, I completely misunderstood that because it was when I was talking about calling, like when people call me out publicly, I want to be called out publicly. So while reading that, I misinterpreted as like, oh yeah, you want me to call you out? Like I can call you out right here, right now. And it was like, no, that's not what I meant. So I messaged her privately. I'm like, Eddie, I just fought you without even meaning to. I view that. I'm like, oh shit. Like I read it. I didn't read it as a, oh yeah, I do that too. I read that as a challenge. I'm like, all right, fine, challenge accepted. Sorry, girl.
This is how you know you're an 8. You accidentally call people out without meaning to, and you fight them.
If I had any doubt until that point, no, that whole response just.
All right. I'm actually very disappointed with you guys because I do not see a whole lot of questions except gasoline.
And gasoline, yeah, I got a few tanks of that. A few tanks of gasoline, some lighter fluid.
My cat's name is Sash. That was a question. Sash. Sash.
Sash.
I thought you said
Okay.
sass for a second. I'm like, I love that. Cats are sassy.
A lot of people think that's.
I love them.
A lot of people think that's what I mean. It's short for sachet.
Sash. So cute.
Let's answer
I was
this.
thinking
So
that
I
sachet
already said
away.
mine.
I didn't have any wings, but like, I don't know what I would have typed myself back then if I knew what wings were. But like, yeah, I said 4 initially, and like, I wasn't totally wrong. I saw that I was core reactive, so congratulations for that. Also, that I was, withdrawing from the heart, but I was like, no, I accidentally misconstrued one with rejection. So there we go. That one. Can't win them all.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Jackie? So did you actually like make a full guess for yourself before you got your type back?
Yeah, so after the 4-wing-5 test, that was ridiculous. But I was looking into stuff as I was preparing to do my video for Enneagrammer, and Daniel, you had said that you saw 1, and which was probably just tricking you with the 8, I guess, probably. But then I was reading about 6s, and I was like, that really sounds like me. I sound like a 6, so that's kind of where I stopped and where I landed, like a 6, maybe with a 1 somewhere, and that was it. I wasn't sure about wing or anything. I assumed probably 7.
Interesting.
6-wing 7.
Okay.
I guess 9-wing if I had an 8. Did not see the 7.
I remember that.
Probably because I didn't want to. I rejected that immediately. I rejected I was double assertive.
Wow.
Oh, and
All
Daniel,
right.
I'm like remembering from the last question that does the 2, do something to the 8. I forget what the actual question was. But remember we had been talking, Daniel, and you were asking if I had like had any like 8 moments where I just lost it. And I said that I not really. There's like 1 or 2 times where that might have happened, and I kind of called them my Karen moments, at least one of them. But other than that, but I was like really stressed out at that time, so it didn't help the situation. But yeah, really, I don't normally have times where I've kind of lost it on people.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm guessing maybe it's the 2 part there where it's like they have to give off a specific emotional image, but it's not necessarily going to reflect their actual emotions. So maybe that is making it harder to lash out with like emotions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just a guess. Okay, so this question: do you guys feel the contrast from Hexad leading to your attachment 6?
Yeah, very much so. My core being double hexad and then leading to 6, where it's kind of this sudden shift to attachment. Oh, it's such a contrast of like, I don't give a fuck, like who gives a shit, like bombastic bravado of like, I am what I am, fuck all of you, like
Oh my God.
I'm the leader of I'm marching in my parade of 1, like who gives a shit, to like the 6 suddenly needing to be like, oh, can people be behind me now? Like, can people
Yeah.
can I have like people behind me? Are you all agreeing with me right now? Like where's the people?
Yeah.
I scared them all away.
Well, I also want to call you
Yeah, I
out here
feel
because
it.
we did talk about this during the interview, and you asked anyways. So, but Jackie, did you want to like have a short answer on this?
I don't think I don't have an answer for that one.
Okay, so rejected. Okay, so all right.
Hashtag rejection.
Hashtag rejection. That's right.
Hashtag rejected.
Okay. So I think we've covered everything. You guys are a huge disappointment. We did not get to call out too many people, but I'm so glad that you came. And yeah, any last words, you guys?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. This was my first Enneagram interview I have ever done, and so I'm excited to start out with a bang. And what better way to start out with other eights? So just it honestly helped me see what I was doing a bit more, contrasting of like, okay, what am I doing that 8-wing 9s aren't, or what is my 3-wing 2 doing that 3-wing 4 isn't, or what is a 8-6-3 different than an 8-6-2, and like, oh, what does having withdrawn mean and not having withdrawn? And like, it's been very helpful to talk with both of you. I'm so excited for this. I can't wait to do more in the future. I'm excited. I'm hyped. Like, this was fun. Go rejection. Thanks. Fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
for real. Honestly, there needs to be more Enneagram interviews. These are super fun. Yeah, so. And Jackie, do
I
you have
I
any
had
last
fun too.
words?
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. So, rejected.
Hashtag rejected.